Okay, so welcome in. Happy Wednesday. I'm so happy you guys are all here. Um, Today we're talking about the gut, the liver, hormones, and all what that has to do with our health and wellness and how it all relates to weight loss as well. So thank you guys for coming in. Let me go ahead and share my screen so we can get started. All right. Does anybody have any burning questions that they want to get answered? Just doesn't want to, if you don't want to wait till the end, if there's something you want to just get off your chest, speak now and I can help you with that. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and
Well,
start.
Tammy, I guess I'd like to know if this is going to what you're going to present today, and I have not watched Mondays either, so maybe you already did. How we're going to know in the course of this or at the end of the 12 weeks that we've cleared out candida or the bad bacteria? Are there benchmarks that we can look for to know that we're ready to reintroduce foods and stuff like that?
Great question. And I'm glad you asked that, especially because at the end of your program, when you get into about a week 10 or 11-ish, book your last one-on-one. It's called a transition call. So you get your three group coaching or three one-on-one calls, but you also get a transition call. And that's where we discuss how to reintroduce. I'll be asking questions about your gut, what's going on there, so that I can determine how to help you transition. But the short answer is, the generic answer is, the reason you signed up for this program is what? Were you bloated? Were you having constipation, diarrhea, indigestion, any of the issues, fatigue, migraines, all of these things? And if they're starting to go away or starting to improve, that in and of itself would tell you that you're on the right track. I've talked to some
Right.
people this week already, and just their first week are seeing a lot of good progress. So it doesn't have to take long, but there's no guarantee. It's going to take some of you weeks, while it takes some of you days. And it might take some of you, towards the end where you're really getting past some of the issues. It just depends on where you were when you got here.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like some people are they've got a lot of inflammation and a lot of toxins stored up and a lot of that. So it's going to take a little longer for them, you know?
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for asking. You know me, I love questions. All right, so today we've got some shout outs and some welcomes. To cleanse or not to cleanse, that is the question. How the digestive system is supposed to work, what happens when it's off, how to correct it. We'll go into liver health, we'll go into gut health, and we'll talk about some hormones and weight loss as well. So if you guys have any before pictures or after pictures, please send them to me. These are some past clients that I had months back, and these girls did such a fabulous job. I wanted to put them up for you to show you some of their stuff. I do have some other shout outs. Elizabeth is already down, and she's brand new or fairly new. She's already down 30 points on her cholesterol. So I couldn't see who was asking that question about how do I know. There are actual numbers if you had any kind of blood work done with cholesterol or blood sugars or blood pressure, all of that stuff. And then those numbers improve. That's certainly obviously one way to know. But apparently Elizabeth had her cholesterol done and she's 30 points down. So that's awesome. Iris completely leaned into the program. You guys, I would love to encourage everybody, don't try the program. Just go all in with your whole heart and your soul and just embrace it and just go in there with a sense of believing that it's going to work for you. And rather than try to put one toe in, because as they say, 99% is hard, 100% is easy. So if you just kind of go all in, it's just, there's no room for quitting. You know what I mean? If you're, oh, no, I'm doing this. This is what I'm doing. I'm all in. I'm doing the thing. I'm doing the thing. If I'm going to try it, well, yeah, but it's Thursday and we always go to pizza on Thursday. You know what I mean? So do lean in when you can. Go all in with your whole heart. She leaned in and she said she broke the chains of bad habits. She really, really, really loves this program. And she said it really has taught her a lot. And she's still going. She's still not finished with the program, but she has done very well. But her most biggest takeaway so far is that she learned so much about food and about eating. And it's really, really helping her a lot. Patty, her allergies are completely gone. Her body fat is down and her bone density is up. So she's really, really happy about that. And then Christy, she's completely off her reflux meds. And she said now her A1C is perfect. So there's a lot of good things coming to a lot of you guys. Just hang in there and stick with it. And like I said, go all in. I want to say welcome to Miriam, Esther, Barbara, Elisa, Marie, Sarah, Megan, Kathleen, Deborah, Holly, Judy, Laura, Dina, and Linda. So welcome to everybody new. If I didn't say your name this week, I probably said it last week. And there's a lot of new people coming in every day. So a welcome in, and I'm really glad that you guys are all here. Whether you're watching this as a replay or here live, I'm really happy that you're here. So, all right. So, are you toxic? So some of the ways to know, actually, before I start this, let me go into some interesting facts. We are exposed to over 700,000 toxins a day, from perfumes to plastic to the air we breathe, you know, the pesticides on the food, the junk that they're giving the animals that we're eating. It's in our personal care products, including deodorant, skincare, shampoos, all of that stuff. So we are exposed a lot. So even if you're eating the cleanest, purest diet, there's different ways we're getting toxins. If you're alive and you're breathing, and especially if you live in a city where there's some smog, you are definitely getting some toxins. People ask, is a cleanse necessary? Doesn't the body detoxify itself? Well, it does, but because so many of these toxins, these 700,000 toxins, are man-made, the body doesn't even always know how to get rid of them. It's like margarine is a good example. They put those trans fats in there. The body, it's like plastic. It's literally one molecule away from plastic. It doesn't know how to get rid of a lot of the toxins. So doing a cleanse like what we're doing with the supplements and the liquid only portion, we're really helping cleanse and push some of those sick and dead cells out of the body. It's said that we have between 5 and 20 pounds of sludge in the colon. And I can tell you, when I did my liquid only, the lemonade, my tummy was a bit distended. And just doing the 5-day cleanse, my tummy went flatter. I just thought that's who I am. I'm Italian. That's just the way it is. But that doesn't have to be the way it is. We can get rid of these toxins. Your toxins are primarily stored in fat cells, but they're also stored in the lymphatic system, which is why rebounding and the whole body vibration plate are recommended. The rebounding is basically a little trampoline. The lymphatic system is the sewer system of the body. So when stuff gets built up there, then we're holding up a lot of toxins. But it's also held in your brain and in your muscles and in other organs. So we definitely want to do a cleanse. And just a little FYI, your large intestine is 5 feet long, and the small intestine is anywhere from 15 to 22 feet long. So there's a lot of room for stuff to get messed up. And that's why I love this program. I'm a firm believer in it. I've seen so many people heal and improve their life. The whole disposition changes, you know, because your gut is related to your anxiety and depression. So when we can get that gut in a better place, everything feels better. The vision is better. It just, everything can, not everything, but a lot of things can improve. So hang in there. So how do we know if we're toxic? brain fog is a common thing that we have. Fatigue is a big, strong marker, especially liver toxicity. But just if you have a lot of toxins in your body and they're storing, sitting around in your liver and your other organs and in your fat cells, and in, like I said, lymphatic system, we're going to be way more tired. So we definitely want to get rid of the toxins. As I mentioned, it does also affect your vision. I know when I do the cleanse, it's so wild that the colors are more vibrant to me. I can't promise any result. Every human is different. But for me, and a lot of people have said the same thing, that the vision is clearer, the colors are brighter, the thoughts are clearer, you can pull words from your brain quicker, you're trying to come up with that word, it comes quicker. So yeah, gas, bloat, constipation, these are all signs of toxicity. If things aren't right, we're going to have gas, we're going to have bloating, and likely constipation, and even possibly diarrhea if things aren't right as well. Headaches is also a very common thing in toxicity. And if you're just beginning, you might be having what's called the healing crisis, and your body's detoxifying. We're taking all these supplements that are pulling the toxins from the body, and then we're eliminating all the stuff that we used to eat. The body's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. It's very likely you might have a headache in that first week. So just be mindful. These are some of the signs. Oh, bad or itchy skin. Itchy skin can be a sign of liver toxicity, but people, when they do a cleanse, when they do this program, a lot of my clients are saying, my skin is so much better. They tell me that their friends and family are saying that they look younger. So what we eat can be our medicine. It can be our poison, but it can also be our medicine. And who doesn't want good skin? I will say our clientele is primarily all 50 plus, averaging late 50s to mid 60s. And I don't know any one of us that doesn't want some better skin and some nice, beautiful, youthful skin. So hang in there. I know some days you don't feel like doing the deal, but just hang in there. It's going to be worth it. Oh, and it also affects the sleep. I forgot about that one. It really affects the sleep. It can have you waking up at night. It can make you extra tired, but then you still have trouble with sleep. So doing a cleanse can actually really help with your sleep as well. How did we get that way? Well, alcohol is obviously a toxin for the liver and for the gut, by the way. If you're excessive drinking can cause the gut bacteria and the gut biome. It can kill that off. Tylenol is actually, when people go to the hospital for toxic liver, it's usually more so from the Tylenol than it is the alcohol. It's a surprising statistic, but Tylenol is very, very hard on the liver. So if you are in that healing crisis, people ask, can I take a Tylenol or ibuprofen? You can. If the quality of life is just, this headache is just too bad, then yes, take it. Just don't take too much. But if it's just slight and you can tolerate, try not to take the Tylenol because it does affect the liver. Obviously, there's pesticides on the foods, all the plant-based foods that we eat, the fruits, the vegetables, even in the animals that we eat, that they're getting fed the food that has pesticides on it. And, we are what we eat. So we got to be aware of that. Heavy metals, those are bad. We can get those in a lot of different ways. We can get them like through what we eat, a lot of like tuna. Some tunas can be high in some heavy metals. There's different, our deodorants are high in aluminum, a lot of those, which is related to Alzheimer's and other conditions. We can get them through other personal care products. But what happens when these heavy metals come into our body, it can change the DNA and cause membrane and DNA damage. It can cause damage to the brain, the lungs, the kidney, and the liver. It can affect enzyme activity and mimics Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, muscular dystrophy. It can increase your risk for cancers. Common foods that lead to it is the tuna, as I mentioned, swordfish. It's in a lot of baby foods, I'm finding out. If you know any young moms, have them make their own baby food. Oh my gosh. But mercury is a pretty common one. Mercury and aluminum are pretty common. Fossil fuel emissions, wastewater, and smoking. Sugar is the enemy, guys. Sugar, and I've talked about this 100 times. It really is so bad. We'll be talking about that when we dive into the liver a little bit. But sugar stores, sugar is a carbohydrate. High fructose corn syrup is a cheaper, more processed, more addictive version of just regular table sugar. So if you're looking at your ingredients list and there's high fructose corn syrup on it in that item, put it back on the shelf. Don't buy it. Donate it to the food pantry. Just don't consume it for yourself. It is not good. And it's really, really, obviously it puts you at risk for diabetes and heart disease and all the conditions that come with diabetes, like vision, heart disease, circulation issues. But it can also cause fatty liver as well. Your sugars are your carbohydrates. Your carbohydrates are for energy. So if we're not out there climbing mountains and running marathons and working out a lot, if you're having a high sugar diet, it stores in the liver as triglycerides. And that is how we get fatty liver. Fatty liver is the first step in cirrhosis of the liver. Fatty liver can cause inflammation. And when inflammation gets worse and worse and worse, there starts to become scar tissue on that liver, which is not reversible. Cirrhosis is not reversible. Fatty liver is reversible. So by doing this program, you can reverse your fatty liver. You got to hang in there and you got to stay off the sugar, but it can be reversible. And also this program is an anti-inflammatory diet. So hang in there. It's all going to be worth it. As I mentioned, personal care products. That's where you're going to get a lot of your aluminums and other pest toxins as well. Oh, and breathing. So if you're breathing, unless you live in the tops of the mountains where the air is as fresh as can be, we're probably inhaling, emissions from the smog and the cars and all of the stuff, factories that release all that stuff. All right, so let's go into the digestive system and how it should work. It starts really with, I would say it starts with visual, it starts with smells, before it even goes into your mouth. Because I know for me, if I smell something good or I see something good, we start to salivate. When we start to salivate, in the saliva, there are certain enzymes that are already there waiting to break down some of the foods that might be coming in. So we have this chewing process, which produces more saliva, and then we swallow. Where's my little, oops, no, go back. Here, sorry. All right, so we swallow, we have our esophagus here, and then the food goes into the stomach. You've got hydrochloric acid, which is the stomach acids, which is designed to kill any like bad bacteria. On occasion, we'll still get a food poisoning, but that hydrochloric acid is designed to kill off most of it. So that's why we don't get it more often. Also in the stomach are beginnings of some enzymes. So the food goes into the stomach, and the stomach actually crunches it up and pushes it around, and the enzymes and the acids are breaking the food down, and it should be turning into almost like a foamy liquid, a very foamy liquid. After it is a foamy liquid, it will then go into the small intestines, where we start to really absorb the vitamins and the nutrients. There's more enzymes produced there, and that's just going to help break down those foods and help really absorb the vitamins and the minerals and all of that. The pancreas is producing some insulin If it detects any kinds of sugars, carbohydrates whatsoever, it's producing some insulin. And so these are the gallbladder is also releasing. Now the liver makes the bile. The gallbladder is just the sac that holds the bile, which helps break down fats. So the pancreas is going to help break down the sugars. The gallbladder is going to release the bile that breaks down the fats. And this is how we efficiently break down food so that we can absorb our vitamins and eliminate properly. Let me just finish. Yeah. And eliminate properly. It goes into our large intestines where it starts to form, the bowel movement itself. And by the end, and there's still some absorption in the large intestine. Most of it happens in the small, but still some happens in the large. And at the very end, you got your nerve cells, which signal you, hey, I got to go to the bathroom. And then we eliminate. And that's how the body eliminates the toxins if everything is going correctly. What can happen is if we don't have enough digestive enzymes and we don't have enough acids in the gut, and we don't have enough of the good bacteria in the gut, which is also helping with the process of pushing everything through and absorbing all of the good vitamins. What happens is the body, the stomach wants to get rid of the food, but if it's not in that frothy liquid yet, it might want to go back up into the esophagus, which is what we call heartburn or acid reflux. And then there's a little sphincter, which is basically a round circular muscle. It should be closed so that it doesn't go back up into the esophagus, but sometimes it's loose and in some stuff it goes back up. Also, there's another sphincter here from the stomach to the small intestine. If the food goes down that way, and it eventually will, whether it's ready or not, what happens is if the food is more in chunks rather than that frothy, the pancreas thinks that there's more food. So if it thinks there's more food, it's going to pump more of the insulin. Well, guess what? Insulin is your fat storage hormone. So if we're pumping more and more and more and more insulin because we're not breaking our food down efficiently, here we are trying to diet, we're working out in the gym. We can't keep up with the fat storage hormone. It's just too hard. We can try, but we can't fight it. We can try, but we can't keep fighting it. So that's why we've got to get the insides fixed and working properly so that we can stop producing so much insulin, so that we're not storing fat, and so that when we go and eat clean and work out and move our bodies, we will lose the weight. So hopefully that will explain that. Any questions on that? All right, so gut bacteria. The gut bacteria is super important. This is the microbiome. There's trillions of bacteria in the gut. In fact, there's more gut bacteria in your gut alone than there are people on this planet. So just know we can't live without them. We cannot live without them. The problem is sometimes the bad guys are in there too. So we want to do things that kill off the bad guys and increase the good guys. It's like having two teams and there's a war going on. We got the good guys and the bad guys. So we want to build up the good guys and take down the bad guys. So for the bad guys love sugar. That is what they eat. So if we find that we're just craving a lot of sugar, it's likely that we have a lot of candida or the bad guys in the gut, and they're making us want the sugar because they're just trying to survive. They're the bad guys, but they're not evil. They're just hungry and they want to survive, like any living thing wants to survive. So it's going to get us to eat the sugar. We wonder why we're craving sugar if we haven't eaten anything sweet, but sugar is in so many of our salad dressings and in our sauces and our ketchups and so many of our foods. It's feeding the bad bacteria. So it's like, God, I'm off of sugar. Why am I still craving? So we really got to read our labels for that. Antibiotics, those are killers of all the bacteria. They're not going to kill 100% of them, of course, or we would die, as I mentioned, but it doesn't know good from bad. So it just kills off a bunch. So if you're on antibiotics, we got to really go back in there and replenish the good guys. But the antibiotics really don't know good from bad. So it kills off the good guys as well. So the good guys are crippled to fight the bad guys. As I mentioned, alcohol can kill the, can decrease the good guys as well. GMO, genetically modified organisms or pesticides, these have a big, huge effect on the gut bacteria. They can destroy it, they can hurt it. That's again why we want to do these cleanses, why we want to eat clean. This is why we want to eat organic. Super important. Artificial sweeteners like Splenda and Equal or sucralose and aspartame. Those two, saccharin's no good either, but they actually attack the good guys in the gut. So you really want to avoid those. We can have monk fruit, we can have a stevia. If your body can tolerate the sugar alcohols, you can have those, but stay away from Equal or Splenda. They're killing your gut. And then stress. I'm going to talk about that in another minute. All right, so what do we do to increase our good bacteria? Well, we feed them. Like anything else you want to grow, you feed it. You give it attention. How do we feed them? Well, it's prebiotics. What are prebiotics? They're basically fibers. The little picture I have in the corner, get yourself a rainbow full of vegetables. There's so many different colors. There's oranges, there's yellows, there's reds, there's dark greens, there's light greens. You know, get your veggies in. They're your anti-aging, but they're also going to feed the good bacteria in the gut. There is a lot, you know, I could go on for an entire week on the benefits of eating a lot of vegetables. Some people have certain allergies, I know. Some people can't eat nightshades, or some people can't have FODMAPs. There's certain things, certain conditions. However, generally speaking, your vegetables are your anti-aging, and that's your vitamin and mineral powerhouse. So feed your gut the good bacteria. I mean, the good fiber. Like I said, make it a big variety. You know, your yellow and your orange ones are higher in vitamins A and C. Your dark green vegetables are high in detoxification and chlorella and chlorophyll. So they all bring something wonderful to the table. Fasting can be a great way to clear the gut, which is why we have you doing these cleanses several times during the 12 weeks. There are, as I mentioned, sick and dead cells sitting around in the gut. So if there's just sick cells and we don't eat for, you know, we go through windows of periods of not eating, the body will be forced to eat it up and push it out. So that fasting is very, very healthy, as long as it's not something you're doing every single day, because then the body adapts. And if weight loss is on your radar, it slows that process down. Fermented foods, that's a big, huge one, great for the gut. The top three come to mind is sauerkraut, kimchi, and what was that third one? Sauerkraut, kimchi, where's my list? Well, sauerkraut, where was it? Where'd it go? Well, sauerkraut and kimchi it is till I can find it. But those are really good. There's kefir, but I believe that's in the dairy, so we'll have that later. There's a lot of other things that we can have. Yogurts that have good probiotics in them, but again, those are for later. But fermented foods can be, miso is another one, but that's made from soy. So that would be maybe later on. But fermented foods can really, they're nature's antibiotics. Oh, apple cider vinegar, that was the word I was looking for. Also, losing weight, having excess weight can take a toll on the gut bacteria as well. All right, so since we're on the topic of the gut, and I wanted to touch on the autonomic nervous system. There's the parasympathetic, the sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight or flight, and your sympathetic nervous system, which is rest and digest. So just before I even bring up the little bullet points, you know, if we're getting chased by a bear, like this big scary bear, or, you know, you're walking down a dark alley in a really terrible neighborhood, or you're walking across the street and there's a bus, and you look up and there's a bus coming at you, your body is going to go into fight or flight. And it's important because it's called survival. But certain things happen in the body that need to happen to keep you alive, but certain things will stop happening, and a lot of it is digestive related. So that's why I wanted to even add this into this PowerPoint to kind of go over. So when we get approached by a bear or the bus in the street or the scary person coming around that dark corner, your body's very, very, very smart. It's trying to survive. So your heart rate will increase. Your blood pressure will increase so that you're able to get the blood to where you need to go to fight or flight. Your breathing will increase so that you get oxygen to every cell that you need. So you get the energy to run or fight back, whatever the case may be. Your pupil size will increase so that you're able to see any possible dangers whatsoever. Your digestion and your immune system slows. So when I say immune system, so say, for example, you've been exposed to a flu and you got a little flu bug inside of you. So your body's smart. Okay, it says, all right, let's attack that flu bug. It's a foreigner. It's a bad guy. We're going to go in and get it. But then the minute I see that bear or that truck or that bus, that little flu bug is not the immediate threat, not any way, shape, or form. Right now, we need to address that big black bear first. So the immune system stops. So if we're in a constant state of fight or flight, constant state of stress, constant state of, you know, everything's coming at me, all of these things stop. Our immune system stops, all of the digestion. When you're running from a bear, you don't think about having to go to the bathroom. Right? You don't think about having to go pee or have a bowel movement. You're not going to be fighting off any COVIDs or any flu bugs. You are going to be running, or you're going to be throwing rocks at that bear. You're going to be doing something to protect yourself. Meanwhile, the rest of the body's systems are shutting down to give everything else energy. Another thing that happens is your peripheral blood in your arms and legs decrease a little bit. In case you do get cut or hurt, you won't bleed out as quickly. Glucose production happens also in fight or flight to give you the energy. Remember, sugar is a carb. Carbs are for energy. So if you're producing more glucose to get ready to get into that fight or run for your dear life, glucose, what does glucose do? It spikes your insulin levels. In insulin levels, that spikes your fat storage hormones. That is your fat storage hormone. So if we're in a constant state of fight or flight, we're going to be in a constant state of fat storage. Well, the liver activates energy stores, which is glucose. It's all the same thing. So what can we do? So what happens when we finally calm down? When we get out of the street and out of the way of that truck that's coming at us, or the bear disappears and chases something else, he's gone, we're safe. Whew. We can all breathe, right? But your heart rate will come back down, your pupils will go back to normal, your digestion will start. You're like, oh, dang, I do have to go to the bathroom after all. Your immune system can get back to what it was doing with that flu bug. If you've had to go to the bathroom, all of a sudden, oh, gee, now I do have to go. Oops. So that's kind of when we're in the rest or digest phase of the autonomic nervous system, then we're back to normal. The problem is most of us don't deal with stress very well, and we're in a constant state of stress. This basically fight or flight is stress. This is why we're having so many issues on the left side of the screen here. I'll be talking about this again in several weeks, but I did want to introduce it to you because it truly affects the gut. And I need you to know that. All right, symptoms of a toxic liver. Number one really is fatigue. If you're really, really tired, try doing a liver cleanse. If you're having trouble losing weight, your liver, the liver, my liver, your liver, the liver is the only organ in the body that that can help the body metabolize fat more efficiently. So if your liver isn't happy, it's not doing its moonlighting job, which is metabolizing fat. So it will make it much harder to lose weight. Gas and bloating, that's another sign of a toxic liver. Brain fog, again. Water retention, we're just constantly bloated, full of water, that can be a sign. Itching or other skin issues, as I mentioned earlier, itching can be a sign of a toxic liver, but other skin issues. When you start eating really clean, you and your people that know you will see a difference, or very likely will see a difference, especially if you can stick with this. If you can do the 12 weeks and hang in there, you will see a difference in your skin. Dark urine, that can be a sign of dehydration as well, or other things, other kidney problems, but it can also be toxic liver. So what can we do? Cleansing foods. So some cleansing foods, I think I go over that in the next slide. So let me just put that on pause. Let's see. Drinking your water, fresh, clear, clean water. I know some of you have come to me and say you're having trouble getting that much water in. You can count the water in your shake. You can count the water in your broth at first, because I want you to feel like you're succeeding. And I don't want you to, at the end of every day, oh, I failed again, I failed again. I want you to get a good mindset like, oh, I can do it. So if you at least count those other extra waters, that'll help. It will help with mindset and help with your attitude of feeling as a sense of successfulness. But I would like you to get as much of that water intake as pure clean water, as much as you can. It really helps flush out the liver. The liver doesn't hold the toxins. It isn't actually the filter. What it does is it helps the body get rid of the toxins. Eliminating sugars. This is, again, you guys, the sugars is the enemy for the liver. It has a lot of other bad things in the body, but it's really, really hard on the liver. There are so many people that have fatty liver, and fatty liver doesn't always come with symptoms. You might feel tired, but that might be your normal. Not everybody knows they have fatty liver, but it's a big percentage. I don't know the number, but I know it's higher than you might think. But eliminate high fructose corn syrup is more addictive than regular sugar, and it's processed, and it's just bad for us. So eliminate that at all possible. Fatty and processed foods, things like fried donuts and French fries and, biscuits and things of that nature. A lot of that stuff really does wreak havoc on the liver, because it will store, like I said, as triglycerides in the liver, creating fatty liver. Supplements, there's lots of supplements that we can take that help with make the liver happy. There's milk thistle, and another name for milk thistle is silymarin. There's curcumin, which is the part of the turmeric that causes the anti-inflammatory, but it also spikes glutathione in the body. Glutathione is, the body produces it, but it's a nature's antioxidant for the liver. So if we can take things that promote more glutathione in the body, the better. And curcumin, which comes from turmeric, is definitely one of them. Dandelion root is one of them. Yellow dock root, peppermint, rosemary, N-L-acetylcysteine, selenium, vitamin C, and vitamin E are all really, really wonderful for your liver. So don't be afraid to take some supplements. And there's a lot of these supplements that I mentioned in our products. So it's all there for a reason, for sure. Oh, and limiting Tylenol. As I mentioned, Tylenol is a huge problem for the liver. It really wreaks havoc on the liver. And of course, alcohol, the obvious.
Sorry.
All right.
Question. What about
Yes.
white willow bark? It's Linda.
White willow bark. Oh, that
Yeah,
sounds.
that's like it's a natural form aspirin. I think that's what they base it off of. I'm just curious. I don't do any of that Tylenol or anything like that. I have in the past. I haven't needed it for quite
If
a while.
you take,
I'm curious about white willow bark.
yeah, I've heard it was nature's aspirin. And I know it
Yeah.
was in some of the, I'm thinking of a product I used to sell in my vitamin store. It was a curcumin, like the turmeric product, but it was, people with arthritis, and it was expensive. Man, it was expensive. Even for
Yeah, no,
me,
this wouldn't be
wholesale, it
like
was
that. This
expensive.
isn't like that.
No, the willow bark by itself should be pretty affordable. But I remember that was in, and it was the reason for it was for the pain, to help reduce the pain.
Yeah. I mean, I did. I had a
I would just,
procedure.
after I get off this call, I'll probably go and Google it and find out.
Oh, okay. No, that's fine. But that would be, I was just curious. And I don't offhand, I don't know if it is toxic to the liver.
If you'll get
but
what?
It's definitely like taking a Tylenol or an aspirin.
Well, and if it works for you, it's got to be better than Tylenol. Tylenol is just
Yeah,
terrible.
I mean, and it was only because I had a dental procedure done. My dentist knows that I don't do any kind of, hopefully not too much medicine at all. And I go, what can I take for pain? And he thought for a second, he goes, white willow bark. And oh my gosh, I totally forgot that because I hadn't used it in so long.
I love that.
I did, and within 45 minutes, my pain was almost completely gone.
I love that. Thank you for bringing that to the group.
So hopefully I hope it's not. I do believe that it was how they take medicine, they take natural things and then they build on it. But it does kind of act, I believe, almost like an aspirin. So if you're on Coumadin or anything like that, you'd have to be probably careful about it. But I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so we'd have to do the research to see if it thins the blood like aspirin does.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, great point. I love that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so some of their top cleansing foods: cruciferous vegetables, which is basically your kale, your broccoli, your cauliflower, Brussels sprouts. I believe arugula is in that group, cauliflower. Those are wonderful cleansing foods. Those are going to feed the gut and be good for the liver as well. Anything dark green leafy, and primarily because anything dark green is going to have a higher amount of chlorophyll, and chlorophyll is your body's internal deodorant. So by the way, the more dark green leafy things or chlorophyll packed vegetables that you eat, the better breath we're going to have. We're not going to have body odor. So load up on your dark green leafies. Citrus fruits, those are really wonderful for the liver, which is why we do the lemon cleanse. Some people ask if they can do limes instead or in addition. Yes, you can. Limes are really a lot drier than lemons, so you'll squeeze a lot longer. It'll take you longer to get the juice, but you could use a lime in our lemon cleanse as well. But citrus fruits, just consuming them, having some grapefruit once you've brought fruit back. Asparagus, that produces a compound in the body that helps clean the liver. It's very, very good for your liver. Onions, very detoxifying for the body. Very, very detoxifying for the body. Blueberries, there's something about that very dark purpley bluish color. It's got resveratrol in there. It's got those good antioxidants. Very good to make your liver a happy little camper. Walnuts have a good source of omega-3. Olive oil and MCT oils are fabulous for the liver because they don't require bile to break down. Some of the other fats you do need bile. So especially if you're missing a gallbladder and you need to eat some healthy fats, you definitely want to make one of them the MCT oil, or AKA coconut oil, or olive oil. Also beets. Beets are a good liver and body detoxifier. They're also a vasodilator, so they can help open up those veins and arteries. If you ever take a beet powder before your workout, you can use that as a pre-workout, but it's also going to help clean your liver. If you're ever at a juice bar and the option is to add some beets to your vegetable smoothie, do it if you want to clean up your liver, but don't do very much. If you're kind of toxic, you haven't been on this program for, you're just starting fresh, and you take a beet smoothie, you're going to feel nauseous because you're going to detoxify too quickly. So just keep mindful of that. A little bit goes a long way with your beets. Also, artichoke. Artichoke is very good for the liver. It's a good liver detoxifier. If you buy a liver support supplement, you'll often see artichoke in there. You'll see artichoke. You'll probably see NAC. You'll see probably curcumin, dandelion root, things like that. All right. And lastly, we've got hormones. So as I mentioned, in the digestive process, the pancreas pumps out the insulin. And when the pancreas is pumping out too much insulin, it's telling the body to store fat. So once we get the digestive tract working, it's not pumping so much insulin. If we are avoiding high glycemic foods, we're not going to be pumping so much insulin. This is exactly why we only have you having 2 half-cup servings of carbs per day, because carbohydrates are the only macronutrient that spike blood sugars, which will inspire the insulin production. So the less of the insulin production we're inspiring, we want to eat lower glycemic vegetables and carbohydrates. That's why we limit it to quinoa, brown rice, lentils, peas, beets, yams. What else is in there? Lima beans. Those are kind of the lower glycemic kinds of carbohydrates that we like. And then eventually fruit, but then we want you to go low sugar fruits so that, again, we don't spike the insulin levels. Insulin is your fat storage hormone. Cortisol is your stress hormone. So back to the autonomic nervous system, if you're living in the land of stress, you feel attacked. And even if it's just emotionally attacked, your boss is requiring you to this, your parents are this, your kids are that, your bills are due. Like if you're living in a constant state of stress or deadlines, that's your belly fat hormone. Someone's asking if I would define insulin resistance. It's basically what you are right before you become diabetic. So the insulin's job, let's back up here. So the insulin's job, you take in some sugars, you take in the carbohydrates that turn into sugar, and those sugars need to go into the cell because we don't want the sugars running around rampant. We don't want them running wild like children without, at every school you see a fence around the playground because the children will go wild and they'll go crazy and cause problems, most likely. So we want to, keep them in. So the sugars should not be running wild in the body. They should immediately be going into the different cells. The only way for them to do that is to get in with an insulin molecule. So together, they can go into the cell, and now the sugar has left the body. When there's insulin resistance, the sugars and the insulin are not meeting up, and then we get sugars running rampant around in the body, which causes the heart disease. It can cause vision problems, including blindness. It can cause all those other diabetic problems, including circulation, which can lead to amputations. If you've known any diabetics that have had their feet or their legs cut off, it's terribly sad. But insulin resistance will lead to the diabetes, which can lead to all those other things. So it's when the insulin and the sugars are not meeting and they're not holding hands and getting into the cell. It's resisting the insulin, I guess. Hopefully that helps. So ghrelin and leptin, I'll put those two together. Ghrelin is your hunger hormone and leptin is the I'm full hormone. And these two hormones can get messed up on so many different ways. Number one thing that messes those two guys up the most is sleep. And people ask me, how important is sleep? Well, we've all experienced, every single one of us have had at least one bad night's sleep in our life, most likely. But it wouldn't not be a fair statement to say, boy, that next day you're tired and all you want to do is eat carbs and breads and sweets and comfort foods and all of those things. And if the ghrelin is messed up, it's going to tell your body you're hungry, you're hungry, you're hungry, even though you really don't need any nourishment because you just ate. I'm just still feel hungry. I feel hungry. And the leptin is the one that tells your body to stop eating, you're full, and that gets messed up too. So sleep is the number one cause of these guys going off, but there's all kinds of medications can mess these things up. Poor nutrition can mess these things up. Overeating can mess these things up. So those are some things that can really affect your weight. And then of course, estrogen and alcohol can produce extra estrogen in the body, like red wine can, certain alcohols. But when we're having a lot of estrogen in the body, that can help us, that tells the body to store fat, especially around the hips and the butt area. So you can see someone who's estrogen dominant, if they're kind of bigger in the butt and the hips, they're estrogen dominant. It doesn't have to be a woman. If you see a man that has that sort of shape, he's estrogen dominant. What happens is estrogen is also stored in the fat cells. And when we go through this program, we're releasing toxins, which are also stored in the fat cells. So when we're releasing those fat cells, some of the estrogens gets released, and you may not, but you may have symptoms of either spotting or menopausal symptoms or sweats or hot flash or periods or something that's not normal for your cycle in life where you're at. Some people that hadn't had a period in 2 years are spotting. That might be why. It's because some of the estrogen was stored in the fat cells and it's being released through this program. Don't worry, keep drinking your water, keep flushing it out, keep eating your detoxifying foods, and we'll get all that stuff out of the way. Also, in menopause, this when we gain weight, it's because the body's looking for estrogen, and all it knows is that we store it in fat cells, so it tries to make more fat cells. So that's why we're getting bigger during this time, because it thinks, well, the more fat cells, we're going to have more estrogen, which isn't really true. Obviously, the estrogen comes from our ovaries and our girl parts. Well, men get estrogen too, so they don't have the girl parts, but the body produces it, but it's often stored in the fat cells. So that's kind of why, if you've experienced any changes with your cycle during this process, it might be because they're getting released in the body. I think that is it. All right, so to recap, we got to detoxify your mind and your body. So living in stress is just as hard on your body as eating bad foods, eating toxic foods, all that stuff. Cleansing out all of the pesticides and toxins that we've been having. Keeping your gut healthy, eating lots of good fibers, putting the good guys in, not feeding the bad guys, cleaning up the liver, maybe some supplementation, but eating your cruciferous vegetables, eating good avocados. Avocados are great for the liver as well. And just keeping our hormones balanced. You know, the cortisol, the insulin, they're all hormones. They're all related to the excess weight. All right. Oh, by the way, there is a new phone number for the office. So if you want to write that down or take a picture with your phone, take a screenshot of that. But now I'd love to open it up for questions or comments or thoughts or any other comments you guys want to make. Meanwhile, while you're thinking of all these wonderful questions, I will let you know the next 3 weeks, I am doing a fitness series. So, so it's going to be fitness part 1, part 2, and part 3. So it'll go over 3 weeks, but it is going to be physical fitness, and then mental fitness, and then a spiritual fitness. And spiritual fitness is not going to be what you think it is, but I really want you to stay tuned. That's my favorite one. So well, they're like children. I love them all for different reasons. And they're all super, super important for all of our overall fitness. There's financial fitness. I will not be talking to you about that. Not my area of expertise for sure. Anybody got anything? All right, so I guess I'll stop the share. Would anybody like to unmute and comment? Anybody have any wins for this week? Anybody come off a medication or drop a pant size or have to get a new belt? Or I've been hearing those stories. Going once.
I think it was just so much information. I know last time I listened to this presentation, it took me a while to, to digest it, I guess that's the word. So,
I love that play on words.
again,
So you've already seen this presentation?
I think I remember seeing it early on, but in past like 12 weeks then, but
Yeah.
it's really a great amount of information, and it's great information, period. So I need to really sit down, listen to it, and take my notes. So I wouldn't be surprised that everyone, if I can speak for the group, I think, but I really enjoyed this.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And yeah, I do reuse them because there's certain topics I have to get through in a 3-month period, and I don't want anybody to miss it. So I do reuse them, but I add and subtract, and I come up with new ways of saying it. So hopefully, even if you've seen it before, the words out of my mouth, I don't have them memorized. I just say what I'm thinking.
Right.
You know.
It's good, really good information.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Anybody else? All right, well, I appreciate you all coming here, whether you're live or listening to this as a replay. But again, thank you for just doing yourself the favor of showing up for yourself and participating and listening and hopefully taking notes. And my dream and hope for every one of you that's hearing my voice is that by the time you're done, you're never done. We're always in a quest to be healthier. But with our program, with the 12 weeks, that you really have a good set of tools to know how to live your healthy lifestyle and enjoy the quality of life that we all deserve. So thank you for that, and I will talk to you all next time.